of Act 2 of Angels in America, where we left last time, so we're going to finish up a part of the discussion, was just at talking about some of the Jewish themes that present themselves in the first session that we had read last time, that I just want to make sure we've talked about before we go into this session. So for anybody who has either read this next portion or is a reader, please don't do any of the spoiler alerts for these topics, for things that may come up. And if you do, I will be like the blog administrator and I will remove the comment, okay, when it is partially out of your mouth.
Okay.
So the first thing where we were up to was about the issue relating to when the way in which Tony Kirshner sets it up with the grandmother who is arriving, albeit in a coffin at that point, but who is arriving at the first opening scene, and she is the one who has arrived from the old country. And we had talked about how that beginning is bracketed by the end when the voice comes in at the very end. And I had mentioned about the concept of both of those characters, both of those individuals, both of those entities being angels in America, okay? First Sarah Ironson, and then the voice. But they are also, and that's why we need to remember that the name of this show for Angels is, okay, all right, it's about the millennium approaches. But then even if we look throughout the show, there is the notion of the messenger. And the voice, when Pryor looks up at the end of what we read last time, is the messenger. And Sarah Ironson is the messenger. So what I wanted to convey this time is that the word malachim, as in malachim that we like sing, you know, on Friday night, the word we're always using, okay? Malachim means both messenger, and it also means angel. So one of the first Jewish themes that we see here is this notion of we have messengers. Okay, so Sarah Ironson can be one messenger in terms of the DNA that is imprinted on us, right? When she comes in the coffin and we get that speech. And then the other messenger that we have is the voice. And as we listen to the play and we think about what the voice is telling us, there are messages that are being encoded to us in the same way I would propose that Sarah Ironson is being encoded on us. So the concept of angels and messengers go hand in hand. Okay, now, warning you, like I did before, and I'm looking right at you when I'm saying this, Judith, warning you about things that may unfold in this coming week that we're going to read now. Just based on last week, are there any other comments about angels being messengers in the Jewish tradition and the importance of that? Sherry.
One thing that occurred to me, you know, when I was looking at Kathy's email reminding us of our topics here, and it was the role of angels being messengers in the Jewish tradition. And I think of the three angels who appear to Abraham to tell him his seed will bring forth the Jewish people. And so if you look at Sarah, who comes to this country, her offspring, we're talking angels in America, her offspring are here. She's brought that seed to this country. And so I see a parallel there.
Terrific, terrific. Okay, anybody else?
Yeah.
Judith?
I'll speak slowly so you can cut me off if needed, but do we also need to consider angels in the context of their role as messengers for the Mormon religion?
Yeah. Now, I'm going to let you, we'll come back to that more
Okay,
after you get to read your scene and in the later discussion.
bracket
But, okay, but regarding Mormons, because I just want to say this because we didn't make it explicit last time. So Mormons also have taken this journey, right? So if you look at the history of Mormons in America, okay, they go out, okay? They go out to the Western United States where we are now all living, and they face great prejudice, okay? And they also do things that they feel that they need to do to preserve their culture and their religion, and both their culture and religion and Judaism culture and religion. And I'm not getting into anything about where we overlap. Okay, I don't want to even go there, but I'm saying that they're both distinct cultures with distinct practices that are not necessarily shared by the dominant culture, unless they become the dominant culture, Israel, Utah, etc. Okay, all right. Anybody else? Have I missed any hands? Steve, have I missed anybody? Good. Going once, going twice, 3 times. Okay. Then the next thing that I wanted to talk about.
Wait, Emily.
Yeah.
I think Martin wanted to say something.
Oh, we did. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Martin, I've lost you. Where are you?
I'm in the.
Oh, I'm sorry, Martin. Go ahead.
Well, this isn't about angels, but it
I hear you.
this isn't about angels. Can you hear me? But it does strike
Yes.
a Jewish theme in me. Sarah's name is Ironson. And when I think of that name, I think of the Yiddish term starke, a strong individual. And it must have taken a strong individual to do what Sarah did, and then to impart that to her grandson, Louis, who would be the Iron Son. That's all I have to say.
That's terrific, Martin. That's terrific. Okay, anybody else that I may have missed, either intentionally or just because I couldn't hear you? Okay, gotcha. Now, next issue from last time is, so remember Lewis goes to the graveyard, right, for the burial, and he sees the rabbi, okay? And he essentially asks for, you should excuse this expression, particularly in terms of what's going on right now, but he essentially asks for a pardon in advance from the rabbi. And he says to the rabbi, you know, what would you say? What would the Holy Writ, what would the Holy Book say to a person who doesn't think that they have it in them to be able to deal with their loved one's illness and death? And the rabbi looks back at him and says, the Holy Book would have nothing to say to such a person. Now, I've just summarized this for us, and if we need to, we can look at the actual lines. But I actually wanted to call on Rabbi Benioff to just tell us what she sort of thinks of that, and why Lewis would ask, why the rabbi would give the response that the rabbi gave, and then Rabbi Julie put you completely on the spot and something that you never thought I was going to ask you. Ready? And you can say, Emily, I just can't do that last part, is how would you respond to that person? So it's a 3-part question.
Okay. So I think Lewis is asking because he's just learned, like moments before, right, that prior his partner is sick. And I think if I'm remembering, right, he also, or maybe I might be mixing up stories. Did he also not visit his grandmother? Isn't that right? He wasn't,
That's correct.
right. So he's dealing with the guilt looking back that he didn't visit his grandmother, and he's looking forward, having just been told his partner has AIDS, and is going to die. So he's feeling guilt, remorse, and fear, projected guilt and remorse, and trying to find some sort of peace with this thing that's this challenge inside of him. I think that the rabbi answers the way he answers because it is such a profound Jewish value that we tend the sick, and that it's such a high value. Not only do we tend the sick, we tend the dead. And even when the dead can't thank us for it, this enters in the realm of such high levels of tzedakah, or giving of ourselves. And so, yeah, tending the sick is just so very important, and it's a selfless act. It's not about us, it's about them, and there's this Jewish imperative to be there for others. So, and he's fairly old school, this rabbi, I mean, traditional Orthodox, so that he's speaking from that place of that strong value. Okay, so now my point of view. Yeah. I think that it's a beautiful thing that we have that value in our tradition. And I love that about Judaism. And it is really important, and it's really critical. I mean, it's very central to who we are and what we do, and it's so needed. And we know right now in this time how so needed it is to take care of the sick. And we have people who are giving of themselves. I mean, just right now in this moment, the giving that's happening, the sacrifice that's happening is so profound and awesome and praiseworthy. But I'm also just so compassionate also to each of us as individuals being where we're at and having the capacities that we each have to do what we can and play our role. And for whatever reason, Lewis is afraid of suffering or afraid of death. Maybe it means has to confront his own mortality, his own impermanence. And that's actually something a lot of people have fear around and have trouble with. I've heard, I know a lot of people actually who feel scared to visit someone who's on their deathbed. I remember when I started rabbinical school, that was a question I had, do I have the courage? Do I have the strength? Do I have enough love in me to be present to someone who is in that place of vulnerability and transition and entering into a realm that I don't know about? I mean, so that was many years ago. And I sadly, personally, was then brought into multiple situations of being with some of my closest dear ones on their deathbeds, and found that I did have it in me. And it was a profound gift and such a holy opportunity to be present to others in that way at that time. And I'm very aware personally of all the issues it can bring up, because we come face to face with the reality of death. So I have a tremendous amount of compassion for that. And so I would be wanting to be supportive of him and not giving him guilt about that, and having compassion for his journey, and also recognizing that there are many ways to love people and be there for people, and to harness the help of others to be there as a community loving someone, and to work on helping him with what he's afraid of, maybe so he could be there in maybe more ways than he knows he's capable of.
And that's why you're the rabbi of Temple Emek Shalom,
Oh.
because you don't blow people off. And I think that when I look at the way in which the rabbi responds to Lewis, I would want that response to be Rabbi Julie's response in terms of trying to keep people with us. And I'm just going to summarize something that I heard you say, and trying to help that person find the compassion that Lewis seems so willing to just give up on. I mean, he just found out about it. He felt guilty about his grandmother, and he just gives up, it seems. And that's why I said I'm not doing any spoiler alerts for what happens next. But at this point in time, what's our reaction to Lewis when he gives that speech? What do we think about him? Who are we relating to? I mean, do we relate to that? And what do we think in terms of how Rabbi Julie just kicked us off of this discussion? Anybody have any comments or thoughts about that? Am I seeing anybody? Seeming like there isn't any. Oh, Marilyn, thank you. Unmute. Unmute. There we go.
Okay. All of that is, being in, loving him and wanting to take care of him. I think he was overwhelmed by I hate to say this, by the grossness of having to take care of him. It's not like just loving him. It was having to deal with the pooping and all of the really bodily functions that I don't think a lot of people who are not used to dealing with it would, that I think that was part of it too. It's like, I love him.
That's in this part. Wait, Marilyn, that's in this portion now. I'm only talking about right here, right now. So I have to be my blog administrator and say,
Okay,
to
sorry.
be continued. That's okay. That's why I get to do this. Anybody else want to say anything before we start reading today on this topic? Of course, all of these topics recycle and replay, but what I really wanted us to get out in terms of what Rabbi Julie was saying was of how even with Sarah Ironson, even with a rabbi who presents as being hard as the dust of the shtetl, that our core value is chesed and rachmanis, that it's kindness and understanding. And as we go through the play, we will see characters who can do that, and we will see characters who don't seem to have a single bit of that anywhere in their DNA.
So,
right?
Emily,
Dana,
maybe Lewis, I have not read on in the play, so I don't know how it ends, but except for the part I have to read tonight. And it's not Lewis and he's not in it. Maybe he's just a very weak human being. Maybe he just doesn't have the strength of character. I mean, it takes a strong person. I took care of my mother when she died, and for about a month when she was incapacitated. And it was very, very difficult. And yeah, maybe he just doesn't have it in him.
yeah, and or Dana, maybe he doesn't know that he has it in him. Because I think that maybe some of us in the Zoom room have had the experience of a loved one becomes ill and you find strengths in ways that you never knew you had.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that what Rabbi Julie was saying about nurturing people to learn those strengths is one of the core things that we would like to see.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, Judith,
Yeah.
Am I cutting you off too much, Jane? Or are we good?
In which case, I'm just curious about that scene. What does it say about Judaism and the rabbi if the answer is the Holy Scriptures have nothing to say to such a person?
Yeah, it's brutal. The response is brutal, and it's not a response that I would particularly want to endorse, because I believe that the Holy Scripture has something to say to every person in every situation.
But in a play about angels and, you know, to have, we'll see another aspect of that refusal to provide comfort from the Mormon perspective too, or how someone does or doesn't. But to have that scene explicitly there, that refusal explicitly there from a representative of one of the key religions in the play is just very telling, I think. What
Yeah.
turn to in the angel instead, or to each other in place of both the rabbi and perhaps even the angel as things unfold.
Yeah, and I think that's because in terms of how it's being set up, is that Rabbi Chemowitz would never, ever hear the voice.
Yeah.
Okay, Prior hears the voice. Okay, and we need to remember that throughout the play. Okay, and Rabbi Chemowitz sees the angel as Sarah Ironson. So Rabbi Chemowitz is seeing the past. Okay, it's upon us to see the future and recognize other angels. Okay. All right, I think with that, we are ready to start reading. And our story begins tonight. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody who feels like they absolutely have to say something before we start reading. Okay, somebody's going to help me if I'm missing someone.
And I just
Emily?
one little
Yeah, Rabbi.
just how you had said it really beautifully, like this core value of Judaism you named is kindness and compassion. And that's what, and the rabbi is saying that this is like basically that this is the most important thing, therefore there's no place for you. But what the rabbi has zero kindness and compassion in that moment.
Yeah, I think that we would call that dramatic irony.
Right.
Good. All right. Now,
It's Shelley.
Shelley.
Hi,
Wait.
I just wanted to say real quick, there was also at that time, gay men were dying, you know, a lot of gay men were dying. And so everybody had friends who were dying or sick or in the hospital. And so Lewis was seeing that. And these are his contemporaries, his peers, and they're not 90 years old, or, you know, they don't have, they're getting something, they're dying from something that a lot of other people in their group are dying from. And so there's that additional piece, I think, of fear, because that could easily be him.
I think that's Shelley, I think it's an excellent point, and I'm really glad you raised it, because I do think that's a very strongly motivating factor for Lewis, especially because when the show opens at this moment, okay, in addition to him being scared, there was, as you just said, is nobody knew what was causing it when this show starts. Okay, everybody knows who it's impacting, but I mean, we're way, way far away from, and we'll see this more in the second act, what we're going to read tonight. But we're like, just like as the voice and the millennium is approaching, so too is our understanding of AIDS. Okay, both medically and physically, and the way in which it wiped out so many people we know. So I think that's a really good point, and I'm really glad that you raised it. So thank you. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Sold. Scene 8. Okay, it's that night, and what has already happened that night is Prior, at the end of last time, has already heard from the voice for the first time. In this scene, and it's a split scene, we have Harper and Joe who are at home, and Prior and Lewis who are also at home. They are in bed. Harper starts us out.
Where were you?
Out,
Where?
just out, thinking.
It's late.
I had a lot to think about.
I burned dinner.
Sorry.
Not my dinner. My dinner was fine. Your dinner. I put it back in the oven and turned everything up as high as it could go, and I watched till it burned black. It's still hot. Very hot. Want it?
You didn't have to do that.
I know. It just seemed like the kind of thing a mentally deranged, sex-starved, pill-popping housewife would do.
Huh?
So I did it. Who knows anymore what I have to do?
Pills.
A bunch. Don't change the subject.
I won't talk to you when you're.
No, don't do that. I'm fine. Pills are not the problem, not our problem. I want to know where you've been. I want to know what's going on.
On with what? The job?
Not the job.
Said I need more time.
Not the job.
I talked to him on the phone. He said I had to hurry.
Not the...
Can't get you to talk sensibly about anything. So,
Shut up.
then what?
Stick to the subject.
I don't know what that is. You have something you want to ask me? Ask me. Go.
I can't. I'm scared of you.
I'm tired. I'm going to bed.
Tell me without making me ask, please.
It's crazy. I'm not.
When you come through the door at night, your face is never exactly the way I remembered it. I get surprised by something mean and hard about the way you look. Even the weight of you in the bed at night, the way you breathe in your sleep seems unfamiliar. You terrify me.
I know who you are.
Yes, I'm the enemy. That's easy. That doesn't change. You think you're the only one who hates sex? I do. I hate it with you. I do. I dream that you batter away at me till all my joints come apart like wax and I fall into pieces. It's like a punishment. It was wrong of me to marry you. I knew you. It's a sin and it's killing us both.
I can always tell when you've taken pills because it makes you red-faced and sweaty. And frankly, that's very often why I don't want to.
Because
Aren't pretty. Not like this.
I have something to ask you.
Ask. What the hell are you?
Are you a homo? Are you? If you try to walk out right here, I'll put your dinner back in the oven and turn it up so high, the whole building will fill with smoke and everyone in it will asphyxiate. So help me God, I will. Now answer the question.
What if I.
Then tell me, please, and we'll see.
No. I'm not. I don't see what difference it makes.
Jews don't have any clear textual guide to the afterlife, even that it exists. I don't think much about it. I see it as a perpetual rainy Thursday afternoon in March, dead leaves.
Ugh, very Greco-Roman.
Well, for us, it's not the verdict that counts, it's the act of judgment. That's why I could never be a lawyer. In court, all that matters is the verdict.
You can never be a lawyer because you are oversexed. You're too distracted.
Not distracted, abstracted. I'm trying to make a point.
Namely,
It's the judge in his or her chambers, weighing books, open, pondering the evidence, ranging freely over categories, good, evil, innocent, guilty. The judge in the chamber of circumspection, not the judge on the bench with the gavel. The shaping of the law, not its execution.
the point, dear, the point.
That it should be the questions of and shape of a life, its total complexity, gathered, arranged, and considered, which matters in the end, not some stamp of salvation or damnation, which disperses all the complexity in some unsatisfying little decision, the balancing of the scales.
I like this. Very zen. It's reassuringly incomprehensible and useless. We who are about to die, thank you.
You are not about to die.
It's not going well, really. 2 new lesions. My leg hurts. There's protein in my urine, the doctor says, but who knows what the fuck that portends. Anyway, it shouldn't be there, the protein. My butt is chapped from diarrhea, and yesterday I shat blood.
I really hate this. You don't tell me.
You get too upset. I wind up comforting you. It's easier.
Oh, thanks.
If it's bad, I'll tell you.
Shitting blood sounds bad to me,
And I'm telling you.
and I'm handling it.
Tell me some more about justice.
I'm handling it.
Well, Lewis, you win Trooper of the Month.
I take it back. I take it.
I take it back. I take it back. I take it back. You aren't Trooper of the Month. This isn't working. Tell me some more about justice.
You're not about to die.
Justice
Is an immensity, a confusing vastness. Justice is God. Prior, you love me.
Yes.
What if I walked out on this? Would you hate me forever?
Yes.
I think we ought to pray. Ask God for help. Ask him together.
Jerry, you're muted.
God won't talk to me. I have to make up people to talk to me.
You have to keep asking.
I forgot the question. Oh, yeah. God, is my husband,
Stop it! I'm warning you. Does it make any difference that I might be one thing deep within, no matter how wrong or ugly that thing is, so long as I have fought with everything I have to kill it? What do you want from me? What do you want from me, Harper? More than that? For God's sake, there's nothing left I'm a shell. There's nothing left to kill. As long as my behavior is what I know it has to be. Decent. Correct. That alone in the eyes of God.
no, not that. That's Utah talk, Mormon talk. I hate it, Joe. Tell me, say it.
All I will say is that I am a very good man who has worked very hard to become good. And you want to destroy that. You want to destroy me, but I am not going to let you do that.
I'm going to have a baby.
Liar.
You liar. A baby born addicted to pills. A baby who does not dream, but who hallucinates. Who stares up at us with big mirror eyes and who does not know who we are.
Are you really?
No. Yes. No. Yes. Get away from me. Now we both have a secret.
One of my ancestors was a ship's captain who made money bringing whale oil to Europe and returning with immigrants. Irish mostly, packed in tight, so many dollars per head. The last ship he captained foundered off the coast of Nova Scotia in a winter tempest and sank to the bottom. He went down with the ship, La Grande Geste, but his crew took 70 women and kids in the ship's only longboat, this big open rowboat. And when the weather got too rough and they thought the boat was overcrowded, the crew started lifting people up and hurling them into the sea until they got the ballast right. They walked up and down the longboat, eyes to the waterline, and when the boat rode low in the water, they'd grab the nearest passenger and throw them into the sea. The boat was leaky, see. 70 people. They arrived in Halifax with 9 people on board.
Jesus.
I think about that story a lot now. People in a boat, waiting, terrified, while implacable, smiling, unsmiling men, irresistibly strong, seize maybe the person next to you, maybe you, and with no warning at all, with time only for a quick intake of air, you are pitched into freezing, turbulent water and salt and darkness to drown. I like your cosmology, baby. While time is running out, I find myself drawn to anything that's suspended, that lacks an ending. But it seems to me that it lets you off scot-free.
What do you mean?
No judgment, no guilt or responsibility.
For me?
For anyone. It was an editorial you.
Please get better. Please. Please don't get any sicker.
Scene 9, third week in November. Roy Cohn and Henry, his doctor, in Henry's office.
Nobody knows what causes it, and nobody knows how to cure it. The best theory is that we blame a retrovirus, the human immunodeficiency virus. Its presence is made known to us by the useless antibodies which appear in reaction to its entrance into the bloodstream through a cut or an orifice. The antibodies are powerless to protect the body against it. Why, we don't know. The body's immune system ceases to function. Sometimes the body even attacks itself. At any rate, it's left open to a whole horror house of infections from microbes, which it usually defends against. Like Kaposi's sarcomas, these lesions, or your throat problem, or the glands. We think it may also be able to slip past the blood-brain barrier into the brain, which is of course very bad news. And it's fatal in we don't know what % of people with suppressed immune responses.
This is very interesting, Mr. Wizard. But why the fuck are you telling me this?
Well, I've just removed one of 3 lesions, which biopsy results will probably tell us is a Kaposi sarcoma lesion. And you have a pronounced swelling of glands in your neck, groin, and armpits. Lymphadenopathy is another sign. And you have oral candidiasis, and maybe a little more fungus under the fingernails of 2 digits on your right hand. So that's why
This disease.
Syndrome.
Whatever, it affects mostly homosexuals and drug addicts.
Mostly hemophiliacs are also at risk.
Homosexuals and drug addicts. So why are you implying that what are you implying, Henry?
I don't.
I'm not a drug addict.
Oh, come on, Roy.
What? Come on, Roy, what? Do you think I'm a junkie, Henry? Do you see tracks?
This is absurd.
Say it.
Say what?
Say, Roy Cohn, you are a...
Roy.
Go on, not Roy Cohn, you're a drug fiend. Roy Marcus Cohn, you are a... Go on, Henry. Starts with an H.
Oh, I'm not going to.
With an H, Henry, and it isn't hemophiliac. Come on.
What are you doing, Roy?
No, say it. I mean it. Say, Roy Cohn, you are a homosexual. And I will proceed systematically to destroy your reputation and your practice and your career in New York State, Henry. You know I can do it.
Roy, you have been seeing me since 1958. Apart from the facelifts, I have treated you for everything from syphilis.
From a whore in Dallas.
From syphilis to venereal warts. In your rectum, which you may have gotten from a whore in Dallas, but it wasn't a female whore.
So say it.
Roy Cohn, you have had sex with men many, many times, Roy, and one of them, or any number of them, has made you very sick. You have AIDS.
AIDS. Your problem, Henry, is that you're hung up on words, on labels, that you believe they mean what they seem to mean. AIDS? Homosexual, gay, lesbian. You think these are names that tell you who someone sleeps with? But they don't tell you that.
No?
No. Like all labels, they tell you one thing and one thing only. Where does an individual so identified fit in the food chain, in the pecking order? Not ideology or sexual taste, but something much simpler. Clout. Not who I fuck or who fucks me, but who will pick up the phone when I call? Who owes me favors? This is what a label refers to. Now, to someone who does not understand this, homosexual is what I am because I have sex with men. But really, this is wrong. Homosexuals are not men who sleep with other men. Homosexuals are men who, in 15 years of trying, cannot get a pissant anti-discrimination bill through city council. Homosexuals are men who know nobody and who nobody knows, who have zero clout. Does this sound like me, Henry?
No.
No, I have clout. A lot. I can pick up this phone, punch 15 numbers, and you know who will be on the other end in 5 minutes, Henry?
The president?
Even better, Henry, his wife.
I'm impressed.
I don't want you to be impressed. I want you to understand. This is not sophistry, and this is not hypocrisy. This is reality. I have sex with men, but unlike nearly every other man of whom this is true, I bring the guy I'm screwing to the White House, and President Reagan smiles at us and shakes his hand, because what I am is defined entirely by who I am. Roy Cohn is not a homosexual. Roy Cohn is a heterosexual man, Henry, who fucks around with guys.
Okay, Roy.
And what is my diagnosis, Henry?
You have AIDS, Roy.
No, Henry, no. AIDS is what homosexuals have. I have liver cancer.
Well, whatever the fuck you have, Roy, it's very serious. And I haven't got a damn thing for you. The NIH in Bethesda has a new drug called AZT with a 2-year waiting list that not even I can get you onto. So get on the phone, Roy, and dial the 15 numbers and tell the first lady you need in on an experimental treatment for liver cancer, because you can call it any damn thing you want, Roy, but what it boils down to is very bad news. Whew.
Act 2, in vitro, December 1985 through January of 1986. Scene 1, night, the third week in December. It's now about a month later than where we first came into this story. Pryor, alone on the floor of his bedroom. He is much worse.
Louis, please wake up. Oh God. I think something horrible is wrong with me. I can't breathe.
I'm calling the ambulance.
No, wait,
Wait, are you fucking crazy? Oh God, you're on fire. Your head is on fire.
it hurts.
I'm calling the ambulance.
I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to go to the hospital. Please let me lie here. Just
No, God, Pryor, stand up.
don't touch my leg.
We have to. Oh God, this is so crazy.
I'll be okay if I just lie here, Lou. Really, if I can only sleep a little. Louis? No, don't call. You'll send me there and I won't come back. Please, Louis, I'm begging, baby, please. Louis!
Will you shut the fuck up?
I have to go to the bathroom. Wait, just, oh God.
Pryor, they'll be here in, oh my God.
I'm sorry.
What?
I had an accident.
This is blood.
Maybe you shouldn't touch it.
Oh, help. Oh, help. Oh, God. Oh, God. God, help me. I can't.
Scene 2, same night, Harper is sitting at home all alone with no lights on. We can barely see her. Joe enters, but he doesn't turn on the lights.
Why are you sitting in the dark? Turn on the light.
No. I heard the sounds in the bedroom again. I know someone's in there.
No one was.
Maybe actually in the bed, under the covers, with a knife. Oh boy, Joe, I'm thinking of going away. By which I mean, I think I'm going off again. You know what I mean?
Don't. Stay. We can fix it. I pray for that. This is my fault, but I can correct it. You have to try too.
He turns on the light, she turns it off again.
When you pray, what do you pray for?
I pray for God to crush me, break me up into little pieces, and start all over again.
Oh, please, don't pray for that.
I had a book of Bible stories when I was a kid. There was a picture I'd look at 20 times every day. Jacob wrestles with the angel. I don't really remember the story or why they're wrestling, just the picture. Jacob is young and very strong. The angel is a beautiful man with golden hair and wings, of course. I still dream about it many nights. It's me in that struggle, fierce and unfair. The angel is not human and it holds nothing back, so how could anyone human win? What kind of fight is that? That's not just. Losing means your soul thrown down in the dust, your heart torn out from God. But you can't not lose.
In the whole entire world, you are the only person I love or have ever loved. And I love you terribly, terribly. That's what's so awfully, irreducibly real. I can make up anything, but I can't dream that away.
Are you really going to have a baby?
It's my time and there's no blood. I don't really know. I suppose it wouldn't be a great thing. Maybe I'm just not bleeding because I take too many pills. Maybe I'll give birth to a pill. That would give a new meaning to pill popping, huh? I think you should go to Washington. Alone. Change, like you said.
I'm not going to leave you, Harper.
Well, maybe not. But I'm going to leave you.
Scene 3, 1 a.m. the next morning. Lewis and a nurse, Emily, are sitting in Pryor's room in the hospital. Unmute, Sherry, unmute.
Unmute. Okay,
Good, thanks.
are we there? Thank you.
We're
Okay,
there.
Sorry. All right. He'll be all right now.
No, he won't.
No, I guess not. I gave him something that makes him sleep.
Deep asleep,
Orbiting the moons of Jupiter.
a good place to be.
Any place better than here. You, his,
Hold it. I lost my place. Just a minute. Yes, I'm his.
this must be hell for you.
It is hell, the afterlife, which is not like a rainy afternoon in March, by the way, Prior. a lot more vivid than I'd expected. Dead leaves, but the crunchy kind. Sharp, dry air, the kind of long, luxurious dying feeling that breaks your heart.
Yeah, well, we all get to break our hearts on this one. He seems like a nice guy, cute.
Not like this. Yes, he is, was, whatever.
Weird name, Prior Walter, like the Walter before this one.
Lots of Walters before this one. Pryor is an old family name in an old family. The Walters go back to the Mayflower and beyond, back to the Norman conquest. He says there's a Pryor Walter stitched in the Bayou Tapestry.
Is that impressive?
Well, it's old, very old, which in some circles equals impressive.
Not in my circle. What's the name of the tapestry?
The Bayou Tapestry, embroidered by Lorraine Matilda.
I'll tell my mother. She embroiders. Drives me nuts.
Manual therapy for the anxious hands.
Maybe you should try it.
Matilda stitched while William the Conqueror was off to war. She was capable of more than loyalty, devotion. She waited for him. She stitched for years. And if he had come back broken and defeated from war, she would have loved him even more. And if he had returned mutilated, ugly, full of infection and horror, she would still have loved him, fed by pity, by a sharing of pain. She would love him even more, and she would never have prayed to God. Please let him die if he can't return to me whole and healthy and able to live a normal life. If he had died, she would have buried her heart with him. So what the fuck is the matter with me? Will he sleep through the night?
At least.
I'm going.
It's 1 a.m. Where do you have to go at?
I know what time it is. A walk, night air, good for the park.
Be careful.
Yeah, danger. Tell him. If he wakes up and you're still on, tell him goodbye. Tell him I had to go.
Scene 4, an hour later, split scene. Joe and Roy in a fancy straight bar. Lewis and a man in the Ramble in Central Park. Joe and Roy are sitting at the bar. The place is dimly lit. Joe has a plate of food in front of him, but he isn't eating. Roy occasionally reaches over the table and forks small bites off of Joe's plate. Roy is in a tuxedo. His bow tie is loosened. Joe is dressed casually. Roy is drinking heavily. Joe, not at all. Lewis and the man in the park are eyeing each other, each feigning interest and indifference.
Pills were something she started when she's miscarried, or no, she took some before that. She had a really bad time at home when she was a kid. Her home was really bad. I think a lot of drinking and physical stuff. She doesn't talk about that. Instead, she talks about the sky falling down, people with knives hiding under the sofas, monsters, Mormons. Everyone thinks Mormons don't come from homes like that. We aren't supposed to behave that way, but we do. It's not lying or being two-faced. Everyone tries very hard to live up to God's strictures, which are very
strict.
I shouldn't be bothering you with this.
No, please. Heart to heart. One another, what is that? Seltzer?
The failure to measure up hits people very hard. From such a strong desire to be good, they feel very far from goodness when they fail. What scares me is that maybe what I really love in her is the part of her that's farthest from the light, from God's love. Maybe I was drawn to that in the first place. And I'm keeping it alive because I need it.
Why would you need it?
Well, there are things. I don't know how well we know ourselves. I mean, what if I know I married her because I loved it that she was always wrong, always doing something wrong, like one step out of step. In Salt Lake City, that stands out. I never stood out on the outside, but inside it was hard for me to pass.
Pass?
Yeah.
Pass is what?
Oh, well, as someone cheerful and strong. Those who love God with an open heart, unclouded by secrets and struggles, are cheerful. God's easy, simple love for them shows in how strong and happy they are, the saints.
Bet you had secrets. Secret struggles.
Wanted to be one of the elect, one of the blessed. You feel you ought to be, that the blemishes are yours by choice, which of course they aren't. Harper's sorrow, that really deep sorrow, she didn't choose that. But it's there.
You didn't put it there.
No.
You sound like you think you did.
But I am responsible for her.
Because she's your wife.
That, and I love her.
Whatever. She's your wife. And so there are obligations to her, but also to yourself.
She'd fall apart in Washington.
Then let her stay here.
Fall apart if I leave her.
Then bring her to Washington.
I just can't, Roy. She needs me.
Listen, Joe. I'm the best divorce lawyer in the business.
Can't Washington wait?
You do what you need to, Joe. What you need. You. Let her life go where it wants to go. You'll both be better for that. Somebody should get what they want.
What do you want?
I want you to fuck me, hurt me, make me bleed.
I want to.
Yeah?
I want to hurt you.
Fuck me.
Yeah?
Hard.
Yeah? You've been a bad boy?
Very bad. Very bad.
You need to be punished, boy?
Yes, I do.
Yes, what?
I
said yes, what, boy?
Oh, yes, sir.
I want you to take me to your place, boy.
No, I can't do that.
No, what?
No, sir, I can't. I don't live alone, sir.
Your lover know you're out with a man tonight, boy?
No, sir. My lover doesn't know.
Your lover know you?
Let's change the subject, okay? Can we go to your place?
I live with my parents.
Oh?
Everyone who makes it in this world makes it because somebody older and more powerful takes an interest. The most precious asset in life, I think, is the ability to be a good son. You have that, Joe. Somebody who can be a good son to a father who pushes them farther than they would otherwise go. I've had many fathers. I owe my life to them. Powerful, powerful men. Walter Winchell, Edgar Hoover, Joe McCarthy, most of all. He valued me because I'm a good lawyer, but he loved me because I was and I am a good son. He was a very difficult man, very guarded and cagey. I brought out something tender in him. He would have died for me, and me for him. Does this embarrass you?
I had a hard time with my father.
Well, sometimes that's the way. Then you have to find other fathers, substitutes, I don't know. The father-son relationship is central to life. Women are for birth, beginning, but the father is continuance. The son offers the father his life as a vessel for carrying forth his father's dream. Your father's living?
Dead.
He was, what, a difficult man?
He was in the military. He could be very unfair and cold.
But he loved you.
Oh, I don't know.
No, Joe, he did. I know this. Sometimes a father's love has to be very, very hard, unfair even, cold, to make his son grow strong in a world like this. This isn't a good world.
Here then,
Do you have a rubber?
I don't use rubbers.
You should. Here,
I don't use them.
forget it then.
No, wait. Put it on me, boy.
Forget it. I have to get back home. Home. I must be going crazy.
Oh, come on, please. He won't find out.
It's cold. Too cold.
It's never too cold. Let me warm you up, please. Relax.
Huh, not a chance. What?
I think it broke, the rubber. You want me to keep going? Pull out? Should I?
Keep going. Infect me. I don't care. I don't care.
Look, I'm sorry, but I think I want to go.
Yeah. Give my best to Mom and Dad.
The man slaps him.
Ow! It was a joke.
The man leaves.
How long have we known each other?
Since 1980.
Right. A long time. I feel close to you, Joe. Do I advise you well?
You've been an incredible friend, Roy.
I want to be family, familia, as my Italian friends call it. La familia. A lovely word. It's important for me to help you like I was helped.
Well, I owe practically everything to you, Roy.
I'm dying, Joe. Cancer.
Oh my God.
Please, let me finish. Few people know this, and I'm telling you this only because I'm not afraid of death. What can death bring that I haven't faced? I've lived. Life is the worst. Listen to me, I'm a philosopher. Joe, you must do this. You must. Love, that's a trap. Responsibility, that's a trap too. Like a father to a son, I tell you this. Life is full of horror. Nobody escapes, nobody. Save yourself. Whatever pulls on you, whatever needs from you, threatens you, don't be afraid. People are so afraid. Don't be afraid to live in the raw wind, naked, alone. Learn at least this. What you are capable of, let nothing stand in your way.
Last scene from tonight. 3 days later, Pryor and Belize are in Pryor's hospital room. Pryor is still very sick, but he is improving. Belize has just arrived.
Oh, unmute. You need to unmute.
Miss Thing.
Mon chéri Bichet.
Stella.
Stella for star. Let me see. You look like shit. Why, yes, indeed you do. Comme la merde.
Merci.
Not to despair, Belle-Rive. Looky, magic goop.
Whew. What kind of crap is that?
Beats me. Let's rub it on your poor blistered body and see what it does.
This is not Western medicine, these bottles.
Voodoo cream from the Botanica around the block.
And you, a registered nurse.
Beeswax and cheap perfume, cut with Jergens lotion, full of good vibes and love from some little black Cubana witch in Miami.
That trash away from me. I am immune suppressed.
I am a health professional. I know what I'm doing.
Stinks. Any word from Lewis?
Gone.
Gone.
He'll be back. I know the type. Likes to keep a girl on the edge.
Ben.
How long?
I don't remember.
How long have you been here?
I don't remember. I don't give a fuck. I want Lewis. I want my fucking boyfriend. Where the fuck is he? I'm dying. I'm dying. Where's Lewis? This is a very strange drug. This drug, emotional liability for starters.
Save a tab or two for me.
Oh no, not this drug. Ce n'est pas pour la joie Noël et la bonne année. This drug, she is serious, poisonous chemistry, ma pauvre bichette. And not just disorienting. I hear things, voices.
Voices.
A voice.
Saying what?
I'm not supposed to tell.
You better tell the doctor or I will.
No, don't, please. I want the voice. It's wonderful. It's all that's keeping me alive. I don't want to talk to some intern about it. You know what happens? When I hear it, I get heart.
Oh my.
Comme ça. No, I'm surprised.
My jaw aches at the memory.
And would you deny me this little solace? Betray my concupiscence to Florence Nightingale's stormtroopers?
Perish the thought, mon bébé.
They changed the drug just to spoil the fun.
You and your boner can depend on me.
Oh, je t'adore, ma belle nègre.
All this girl talk shit is politically incorrect, you know. We should have dropped it back when we gave up drag.
I'm sick. I get to be politically incorrect if it makes me feel better. You sound like Lou. Well, at least I have the satisfaction of knowing he's in anguish somewhere. I loved his anguish. Watching him stick his head up his asshole and eat his guts out over some relatively minor moral conundrum. It was the best show in town. But Mother warned me, if they get overwhelmed by the little things.
They'll be belly up Bustville when something big comes along.
Mother warned me.
And they do come along.
I didn't listen.
No, men are beasts.
The absolute lowest.
I have to go. If I want to spend my whole lonely life looking after white people, I can get underpaid to do it.
You're just a Christian martyr.
Whatever happens, baby, I will be there for you.
Je t'aime.
Je t'aime. Don't go crazy on me, girlfriend. I already got enough crazy queens for one lifetime. For two, I can't be bothering with dementia.
I promise.
Ouch.
Ouch, indeed.
Why'd they have to pick on you? And eat more, girlfriend. You really do look like shit.
He's gone. Are you still?
I can't stay. I will return.
Are you one of those follow me to the other side voices?
No, I am no night bird. I am a messenger.
You have a beautiful voice. It sounds like a viola, like a perfectly tuned, tight string, balanced, the truth. Stay with me.
Not now. Soon I will return. I will reveal myself to you. I am glorious, glorious, my heart, my countenance, and my message. You must prepare.
For what? I don't want to.
No, death, no. A marvelous work and wonder we undertake, an edifice awry we sink, plumb and straighten, a great lie we abolish, a great error correct, with the rule, sword, and broom of truth.
What are you talking about?
I am on my way. When I am manifest, our work begins. Prepare for the parting of the air, the breath, the ascent, glory to.
All right, everybody, let's wave those hands for the readers. Fantastic job, everybody. Okay. Wow, right, everybody? Wow. So I thought a good way to kick off this part of the discussion in terms of everybody's sort of individual, all of the characters and what they bring to this, is if we could start by talking about, like when I said before about no spoilers and about me being the blog administrator, of course we see more about the angels. Of course we see more about Lewis's journey and more perhaps understanding of Lewis. But I think that a good way for us to start talking about this, because it can get us to the different characters, is how do we define, name, accept, or fight society's concept of illness and sickness? And how do we reconcile this struggle with our inner selves? Anybody want to sort of take that giant glob of a question and kick off the discussion? Andrew.
Okay, I know we talked about this. I'm gonna swing something here. I mean, okay, your question makes me think about Roy Cohn, right? I think like most obviously, the scene with Henry, the doctor, is where we get this sense of that like distinction, you know, that he refuses to be defined by his disease and even like, and by his sexuality, right? Like he calls into question like the very idea of language and the way that we use words to project the image of ourselves that we want the rest of the world to see. And then, you know, we're seeing the tension between the reality of what's going on inside his body and the words he needs to use and wants to use and forces the doctor and anybody else around him to use to present the version of himself that he wants everybody else to see.
All right, anybody else want to comment on that? How do we see that with Joe? What does Joe want to project? What does he see as his illness? And what do the words mean to Joe?
Well, Joe does believe that if you present yourself, there is something for him to the outward presentation of virtue, of decency, that he seems, even as he mourns not being able to be cheerful and sunny and have an inner peace that lines up with the outward being he projects, he still sees virtue in the fight, even as he protests against its injustice. So he's torn right now between that sense that you really can, there really is value in constructing the outward behavior, in just following the form. If you follow the form, that for him is all you need. And yet he knows that's not all you need. So he, in a way, is kind of a not yet convinced Roy Cohn. It's interesting that he is the moral opposite of Roy in so many ways, and yet he longs to have that ability that Roy has twisted to say that I can indeed turn myself into the outward appearance of something and have it be believed, have it be taken for my essence. So there's a part of Joe that really does accord with what Roy is trying to do, even as there's the other part that is struggling and feeling as if what should be just is tremendously unfair.
You know, there's a commonality between Joe and Roy. Both of them are concerned with the behavior, their behavior as the outside world sees them. And that's a very Jewish thing. It's not what you are, you know, who you are, it's what you do. And here you have that Jewish theme running through them.
Now,
as perverse as it might be.
Say that again, Martin, at the end there, I'm sorry.
As perverse as it
Somebody
might
isn't
be
muted and
with
I'm
Roy
getting some
Cohn.
background. Say that again, Martin?
as perverse as it might be with Roy Cohn.
Okay. All right. Dana, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I actually,
Dana, did you want to say something?
yes. I actually think that they're quite different. And I could be totally off here, but Roy, I think he's completely okay with who he is. He even said he's a heterosexual who has sex with men. He doesn't want the appearance, he doesn't want the stereotype, but I don't see that he's struggling at all with that. He struggles with the diagnosis because he doesn't want people to think he's gay. And on the other hand, Joe actually thinks the essence of who he is sinful. He actually believes all this religious stuff, this Mormon inherent sin. And I think he is actually struggling way more with his identity because he doesn't want to accept it at all. It would be accepting that his life is sinful, which is, I've known many Mormons, they don't want to go there.
What do we learn from what Joe says to Roy Cohn in the restaurant about Harper? Anybody want to give a take on that? Carolyn.
Well, what I was going to say, I'm piggybacking on what Dana was saying.
Sure.
That I found Joe, he's struggling with the fact of his homosexuality, but he also is in a loving relationship. I mean, the words tell us he loves Harper and that they love each other. And he's really in this struggle of coming out or not coming out, I found it very tender.
All right, and then that does lead me to my question. What else do we learn from what Joe says, Steve?
I think that as long as he can be concentrating on the ways that she's wrong and the ways that she's broken, he doesn't have to pay attention to the ways that he feels he's wrong and he's broken.
And the way in which she's wrong and broken, what do we learn about that? What makes her wrong and broken? Barry?
Her upbringing. There was violence and neglect and cruelty, apparently, and drinking and physical stuff is what he says. So I was envisioning, some sort of cruelty. Anyway, the point is that she grew up in a really dysfunctional household, and in Mormons, you're not supposed to do that. He makes a point of saying, you don't think that anybody like that does, but she did. So she's I think, somewhat stuck between two worlds, the world of reality and the world of trying to be a good Mormon. I mean, that was her upbringing, which is the same as Joe. He wants to be a good Mormon, but he's got this part of him that is, that he's fighting, which is the fact that he's gay and that's not acceptable. So it's sort of like a mirror reflection on each other, I think.
Okay, so when we see this so clearly with the Mormon characters, the notion for Jews not having those kinds of problems, okay? Remember Ashanda for the Goyim? Okay, I mean, how many of us remember that expression, right? We didn't have battering, we didn't have sexual abuse, we didn't have alcoholism, we didn't have any of those things, right? Okay, now, of course, we had them all, just like all people do everywhere. And I think that what this brings us back to is actually this myth of when Sarah Ironson comes to America and then being silent. Because remember trust me, mister, she wouldn't want to get out with the life that she had, which is what the rabbi says to Lewis about the size of the coffin. So I think that this is also about other ways in which people come out and what that means. And I think that the show, and I completely agree with the notion of, and I don't know anything about Mormonism, I really don't. I only know some people that I know, okay, but the notion of what does it mean to reveal that there is something about you that is either imperfect or that you're sick, okay, or that you have a deeply strong affection for the messenger in the story of the wrestler, okay? So clearly, okay, which is an angel. I mean, let's not overlook that, okay? So clearly, Joe has been struggling with whatever his inner angel may be for a very long time, as has Harper, okay? And I agree with you, Dana, about Roy Cohn. And I think that we're gonna have a completely separate discussion later about the true history of Roy Cohn that I'm gonna be leading as one of our talks either before or after. But there is one thing that Marianne and I said to each other very recently upon reading this again. And I do think that this could be a product for me of growing up in the gay and lesbian world. And notice I'm saying gay first here on purpose, in the 70s and in the 80s. There was always this father-son stuff between gay men. And if there was somebody in this Zoom room who I don't know, who perhaps has had more direct experience with this, and they feel comfortable, I would love to hear from them. But it wasn't necessarily a sexual thing. It was more of the importance of having, and when Roy Cohn says it's like me familia, okay, and then we're going to talk about the history of how this really plays out for him. But it was much more the importance of almost having like a protectorate, like somebody who beat you into the gang and then was going to protect you, or somebody who would really show you the way. And there was this whole sort of father-son notion. And to me, that scene between Roy and Joe in the bar is just so creepy and so redolent of that feeling that I would so often see in my friends who would then become attracted, involved, and almost feel like sort of like under the guise or under the wing of a stronger, older gay man. And it brought to me to mind this time in terms of the question that I'm framing is that a reaction sort of like, just like Lewis sort of has anticipatory guilt, okay, for how he's going to be? Is that an anticipatory reaction to I'm a homosexual, okay? I'm gay. Everybody's gonna hate me anyway. I might as well do what I can to protect myself as best I can. Particularly when this was being written, because the standard joke, and I don't know how many of you else have heard it, is of the guy who goes and says to his mother, and this is always portrayed as a Jewish mother and a Jewish guy, is, "Mom, I have really bad news. I have AIDS." And the mother says back, well, worse things could happen. You could be gay, right? And I just think of the notion of that in terms of the interaction there between Roy and Joe. So we've touched on Roy, Joe, Harper, and what about, okay, just any other thoughts on this regarding Lewis, okay, and or any other thoughts on this regarding the character we haven't talked about, who's Prior. And of course, the voice is Purity. So we don't see anything wrong with the voice, and the man and Henry, they're sort of separate from the main characters here. But since it's 8:26, anybody want to take on and talk for just a moment about either Lewis, okay, and or about that other last character who is the central character, who's Pryor, and is Pryor really sick? Leland.
Thanks. This is kind of related to your question, kind of not. Just something I've been thinking about a lot is like the different things that angels mean to each of the characters and the different ways we see angels. And I was thinking a lot about, especially when they're talking about wrestling with the angel being this like beautiful man. And I was thinking a lot about how this kind of humanization of angels has been a thing that we humans have done. Like biblical angels are described as being like really terrifying and having eyes everywhere and not being humanoid at all, but we've kind of turned that into human angels, and we see that play out in so many different ways for each of the characters. They have their own kind of interpretation of what an angel is, and like we start off with that with the rabbi and this very grounded, very human angel of a real person who was a real person and is so far away from this like terrifying biblical angel. And so they each choose angels, like end up creating their own angels that they can aspire to. And hearing that passage today just like made me think of that a lot. And Pryor's own angel being the voice, being something that he doesn't see at all, is really interesting to me, because for everyone else, like the visuals of this angel is really important, but for Pryor, it is just an auditory thing. It's never, at least at this point, is never visual. And that's just something that I've been thinking about.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Anybody else want to take a crack at this, at either Pryor or at Lewis, in terms of how they view illness, sickness, how they view society, what's going on with them?
I'm sorry.
Barry, go ahead.
I don't know if this is relevant at all, but it keeps coming in my head. Lewis is terrified of illness and death, and yet when he's in the park, he says, "Infect me," and I don't think that he said that like as a joke. I think he has so much guilt, but I found that incredibly the opposite of what I expected. So I thought that was interesting.
I think that Lewis at that moment wants to be infected. I think that Lewis at that moment really doesn't want to deal with Lewis's demons. Dana.
I think also that Lewis is so filled with self-loathing at that point that I think he means it. I think he's like, I'm not even worth being alive at this point. He's just, and that whole sex scene was not about love at all. It's about pain and being hurt. And that's just his self incrimination of how he's dealing with this whole situation.
Okay, anybody else want to have closing remarks at this point?
I have a question about the play. Is there any mention of Lewis's relationship with his father? I don't remember that.
No, there is not.
No, so we don't know how he related to his father.
Correct. Right. All right, Dana.
I love the character of Belize.
Yeah.
I just think he is, that it's just so nice. I mean, there is humor throughout this whole play. It kind of twisted, morbid humor, but this guy just, I love the way he says, that Pryor looks like shit, and how this stuff is beeswax and cheap perfume cut with Jergens lotion, and it's full of good vibes and love from some little black Cubana witch in Miami. Like that sentence just makes me, I just love it. I love how this horrible, ponderous, these these themes are just immediately lightened by that. And they can talk about Pryor's hard on and how the voice makes him hard. Like it just, I don't know, I just really enjoyed, thank you for letting me read that. And I enjoyed that levity.
Yeah, I think, yes, and I think the play needs it, right? So yes, Rabbi Julie.
I just to add about Belize, I totally agree with you. And the sense I have about him is he's totally himself. Like he's totally in alignment and with who he is and who he's been with and who he loves and how he talks and how he walks, probably how he dresses. Like he's just himself. And there's no hiding, there's no closeting, there's no regret, there's no remorse. He's just living. He's his authentic, true self.
And he tells Pryor that he's going to be with him.
Right.
He
And
says, I'm
loved.
going to be with you. Like,
Yeah.
and you know he will.
Yeah.
Like, if he can. Like, he's very genuine.
Right. And
Right.
he's not afraid of the sores. He's going to put lotion on them. He's just like, he's right there. He's present. He's loving. He's funny. He's present. He's just so present with all of it, everything.
And in our next, either this next one or the one after that, depending on where I do the cut, we will see that Belize performs another function in the show that is truly needed, and I would say is particularly truly needed now as much as it was when this was written. Okay. All right. Now, before we end, it's 8:33, and you know how I am with Zoom fatigue. Is there anybody who feels like they need to say anything at all before the next time that we all see each other? And if there's anybody who either hasn't read before, is continuing to be in love with their character, Dana, that would be you and Belize, or anybody else who says, I really want to read something and I haven't read something yet, please just send me and Kathy Ballant an email, because there are these other parts that will come throughout the rest of the play. And thank you, everybody, for engaging in this study with me of the play that I think changed American history. And with that in mind, unless somebody has to say something, I say to all of you, Gazai Gazint, Lila Tov, run along home, jump into bed, say your barukas, and cover your tuckas. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.